most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Welcome to the Race Hour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. Time now for part 2 of our Cheltenham Festival preview. Today we'll be looking at days 3 and 4 with the action switching to the new course at Prestbury Park. I'm Rory Jiwani, with me racing broadcaster Ed Quigley, Bet365 racing PR legend Pat Cooney and Cheltenham Festival winning jockey Paddy Aspell. But first we looked at days 1 and 2 yesterday, including the Supreme and the Turners. And in complete contrast to what we thought was going to happen, Mighty Park has been scratched from the Turners, so he's probably Supreme bound. We had a lively outsider for the Supreme, Idaho Sun. He's been ruled out. Ed's been keeping a close eye on development. I remember years ago when I, used to bet a lot more on horse racing. I hated this time of year. It was sleepless nights, whether your nice anti-post bet was actually going to get there in one piece. It's just horrible. And plenty of news. Obviously, we had Marine Nationale rolled out this week, and it's that time of year, isn't it?
You need that anti-post hard hat, don't you? Just kind of sit there and hope. Exactly. As you say, it sounds like Mighty Park, because we're kind of filming this as all this is breaking, but it sounds like Mighty Park heading to the Supreme. The talk has been left in the Turners. So he's got the option of doing a late switch from the Supreme to the Turners. So there's that as well. And you say Idaho Sun, unfortunately, is lame. Is going for scans and will miss the Cheltenham Festival. So, all absolute chaos. I'm sure there'll be another 10 horses I haven't mentioned throughout the course of this show suddenly have the options of doing something else. But, in terms of breaking news, if you're kind of new to it, that, Idaho Sun will not make the Cheltenham Festival, the Grade 1 winner from Aintree at Christmas. And, in regards to Mighty Park, I think he could go off favourite, couldn't he, in the Supreme? I think he seems to be a horse with a huge amount of hype. Of course, has that one win, doesn't he, in a maiden hurdle by 38 lengths, but that's not going to put anyone off, it seems, in terms of punters. And, it could easily envisage him going off Fav in the curtain raiser.
Yeah, I'm just envisaging Pat's phone going off, like, get back here, get back here. But he's with us, thankfully, to look at days 3 and 4 of the Cheltenham Festival. Let's get cracking. We start with the Mares' Hurdle over 2.5 miles. It looks like two-time reigning champion Lossiemouth will be taking her chance in the Champion Hurdle, maybe. Nothing certain. Groundhog Day again, isn't it? Just 2 British winners in the last 10 years of the Mares' Hurdle. Willie Mullins has won this 3 times in the last decade. Just before then, a certain Quevega won it 6 times on the spin. Pat, what are the latest odds from Bet365 and any market movers to report?
Well, we're currently 5-4 each. That's Lossiemouth and Woodhoo, and there really hasn't been any movement at all on this race. I think we're all on red alert. There is a school of thought, that if Lossiemouth is working exceptionally well, she'll turn up in the Champion. If she's working okay, she'll rock up in the Mares. So I don't know. We're in the unknown a bit. The one thing I do know is Woodhoo doesn't have to make up that much ground on Lossiemouth and is a perfectly viable winner of the race. I don't really see a shock result in the race. Feet of a Dancer is perhaps a lively each way, one way to turn up. Take no chances for Dan Skelton, 16-1 may be of interest. But in terms of turnover on this race, it's really minimal. But the one thing you do know is Woodhoo's going to turn up for the gig and still has a fighting chance, Lossiemouth or not.
Yeah, Ed, when we looked at this race before, we thought it was a 2-horse race between those two, Lossiemouth and Woodhoo. That still seems to be the case, unless, of course, Lossiemouth does go for the big one. Can we make a case for any outsiders here?
No, hard to, isn't it?
That was quick.
Well, as much as the race will, there's two angles in here, isn't there?
There's an each way angle.
There's an each way angle, or there's the angle if you want to kind of get your book in a good position. There's got to be something in here at 33-1 that's going to be going off 12s, because this race is going to cut up. Brighter Days Ahead's third favourite, not going to run. Golden Ace is not going to run. Sounds like Feet of a Dancer's heading to the stayers. Cargés is running in the Arkle. Blah 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 blah. I'm not going to go through the next 10 in the market, but you're struggling to find a runner. If you see what I'm saying, this could end up being a 6-7 runner mares race. and something is going to parachute into the places at a big price just by the virtue of by staying in the race. Not totally sold on Lossiemouth. We had this chat in great depth, didn't we, a few months ago. Yeah, she's a class act. She's met Wadhu once. Wadhu's only defeat. There was 2.25 lengths between them at Aintree. But I think Wadhu's a much better mare than when they met then. And I'd be pushed to say Lossiemouth's better. I say she's probably as good as, if not slightly underwhelming, compared to when they met at Aintree. And if you look on ratings, Wadhu is kind of bridging the gap massively now. Only has £5 to find. I think it was 10 or 12 or whatever when they met back in Aintree. So Wadhu's progressive. She keeps winning, and she's the guaranteed runner. So if we're talking now at this stage, she can only be the only angle in. I think she's more or less is still second favourite for this. Lossiemouth does defect to the champion hurdle. Wadhu's a really long odds-on shot, and then you're looking for something else at a price to kind of get into the race. Something like Take No Chances. Dan Skelton's, I suppose, has been given the green light for this. It's a double figure price. So that could be the kind of angle. But yeah, not a race I can go too overboard on. I was Wadhu 2 months ago, and I can still be Wadhu now. She's going to run. She loves Cheltenham. Course of distance form. Final point, of course, this is switched to the new course now, the Mares Hurdle. Just something to bear in mind. Not on the old course, the tight track at Cheltenham for the first 2 days. This is the on the Stairs Hurdle track, if you like. So great emphasis on stamina, and Wadhu definitely does stay. So yeah, she'll do for me.
Yeah, Paddy, looks to be Lossiemouth v Wadhu. Which camp are you in?
I think I'd be in agreement with Ed. I think she is slowly edging towards getting somewhere near Lossiemouth. I think we know the abilities there, and it's just still impossible to know where her ceiling is. She obviously she saved the festival for Gordon Elliott last year, didn't she? And she kept him waiting until the boys' race. But she's a fabulous mare. I know she's obviously got to turn the form around with Lossiemouth, but that was her first run in Grade 1 company, and certainly wasn't at all disgraced. And unfortunately, we're looking at a reasonable entry. We could end up with quite a short field here, unfortunately. So it's hard to decipher maybe where, the each way value is. I know Rich Ritchie tried to put us away a little bit yesterday by paying the 560 quid to keep her in the champion hurdle. But the one thing that still sticks in my mind about watching Lossiemouth go around at the DRF, I know we're talking about totally different ground conditions to what we're going to have next week, but it was her head carriage. The head was out to the side from a long way out, which would give me the impression that she was in bother a long way from home that day and had a hard race, might just have left its mark, and I think gives Wadhu the ideal opportunity here to hopefully get her revenge and deservedly get her big day in the sun.
Yeah, sounds like if you can get odds against about Wadhu, that might be the bet right now, especially if Lossiemouth does defect to the champion hurdle. Let's move on to the Stayers hurdle. Bob Ollinger defending his crown, but Teahupoo is back to try and regain his title. And there's a new kid on the block, Honesty Policy, who's been very popular on this show. 3 miles is the trip. Irish Raiders have won 7 of the last 10 renewals, including the last 5 in succession. Pat, let's have the latest odds from Bet365.
Well, this is quite an unusual race, really, the Stayers, in that we're not necessarily playing Willie Mullins bingo here. All the runners at the front end of the market have always had this race as their target, and they're still on pace to run in it. So it's been quite static at the top of the leaderboard. As things stand at the moment, Teahupoo is 15-8, Honesty Policy 9-2. Another new kid on the block, Cabral Damanthan at 5-1. Will he stay or not is the great enigma. The evergreen Bob Ollinger is at 13-2, Marchand 2-8 and 12-1 Bar. And it's this time of year we all become weather experts, don't we? And I think most of us are thinking, yeah, I could see if it's soft ground, Teahupoo. If it's not soft ground, that opens it up. And probably opens it up to the likes of Honesty Policy and Cabral, who've got the form on the good ground and will help them get the trip. So it's pretty much weather watch on this one. I think if the word soft appears in the go-in description, and that's no gimme by any means, then Teahupoo will go off favourite. You know where to find him. He's going to run a rock-solid race. I was actually quite impressed with him last time out, having found trying to get him beaten the last couple of run-ins of this race. But he's a worthy favourite. But there's good opposition, and horses running against him for the first time as well. Machantu, Honesty Policy. So he's solid. Is he unbeatable? No. Will he go very well? Yes. Is he going to be in the first two? Probably. But it's all about the weather.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Cabral de Matan there, the runner for the Skeltons, now vying for second favouritism. You mentioned, will he get the trip? I mean, he won the Relkeel on New Year's Day, 2.5 miles, now going up to 3. Paddy, I mean, it's a strong Irish team. Does Cabral de Matan have perhaps the X factor to get in amongst it?
Well, I think he's a very classy horse, Roy. There's no doubt. I wouldn't have that many queries, stamina-wise, for this fella. Albeit, we do have some very, very strong stayers here. You know, the likes of Home by the Lee, and obviously you mentioned Mashan too. Now he's going to be ridden cold, almost like a horse they're riding to get the trip, but that's just how to ride him. But you know, he's a horse trained obviously by Emma Lavelle, who's got plenty of previous in this race, and he's on a proper upward curve, so they've kind of got to derail him a little bit, albeit he's in deeper water here. Bob Ollinger got a fabulous ride, didn't he? In this race in the past, he's a very, very classy horse. But you mentioned Honesty Policy there. He comes here fresh. He looked like a proper strong stayer, all about stamina at Aintree last year. Good run in the long walk, and he's by a sire for me who horses really find off the bridle, and another thing, they improve with a bit of age. And he's got a rating of 156. Very, very classy horse, Honesty Policy. And yeah, this race, the numbers and the stats tell you that this is a bit of an Irish benefactor race, and I think it'll go the same way again this time. And I think I was leaning towards Honesty Policy, but it's quite wide open, which makes it that bit more exciting. But he's the one that I've come down on, simply because he's coming here that little bit fresher than one or two of his rivals.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't won this season, which would be a little bit of a concern, I guess. But Ed, I know you're very keen on Honesty Policy. You certainly were before. Still the bet for you, or anything at a price?
Yeah, the price is not particularly good now in that sense. I suppose we're closer to the race. So, you know, the percentage chance of him running is closer, etc., etc. But I agree a lot with what Paddy said. I think Tehupu's got a big fight on here. I think this is a deeper race than 12 months ago. Tehupu is one of those horses who does carry a quite lofty reputation and is very good in Ireland. But the facts are he has run in this 3 times and been beaten twice. You know, one of those was by Dashel Drasher and was it Cider Burley? You know, he's been the best horse coming into this race before and not quite got it done. Now, Pat mentioned the weather, and I'll go in proper Michael Fish mode, but I'm a mile from the track. It's 17 degrees, clear blue skies. The ground is dry back to soft, good to soft in places. There's hardly any rain on the radar till at least Wednesday morning. Now, after that, it gets a little bit murky, but Clerk of the course, John Pullin, has said they're not ruling out watering the new course, because if they get another 5 days of weather like this, it will be absolutely a runway by the time they come to Stayers Hurdle Day. So if you're wanting soft ground for Tehupu, I'd say that the weather gods are starting to turn against you on balance, for that he does have some half-decent form on a better service, but I think he's at his very best when the mud is flying. And I agree with Paddy. I think that, as a general rule with the younger brigade, I think Machantu's incredibly progressive, absolutely loves this track, of course. Honesty Policy, you can argue the price is a bit skinny now, but I think looks tailor-made for this. Young legs, just looks a relentless stay. Look at that Ascot run, first run for the season, was conceding fitness, kind of blew up and stayed on again in the closing stages. I think will be cherry ripe here, and you've got lots of horses all the way down. I mean, Cabral de Matan looks a class at Willie Stay. So, as a general view, I'm against Tehupu. That would be kind of my stance on the race. If there was an absolute zany one, Rory, I would have to throw him up here. Sounds like he's going to run. For a race that's had a lot of shocks in recent years, French Ship, Philip Hobbs and Johnson White, I believe, is going to run. He absolutely bolted up on his only previous start at Cheltenham. Funny enough, he's rated 146, which is the same rating Lisnagar Oscar was rated before we won this as a 50-1 poke. So we've had Cole Harden, we've had Solwit, we've had a few spoilovers in the last decade or so. And if it is the time for the younger brigade, I don't think he's a gazillion to get involved in the places at a massive price. He's only had one start at 3 miles. That was in the Rendlesham, and he was travelling really well coming to 3 out, and he jumped the hurdle, slipped, and unseated, and we won't know any more. But it sounds like they're going to roll the dice. It's owned by Ian Gosden, of course, who owns Golden Ace, so he's not afraid to tilt at windmills, is he? He says, he twisted Jeremy Scott's arm last year. I just thought he could be a crackers one at 50, 66 to 1 or whatever. If he ran on into third, I'm not going to fall off my chair in amazement. But yeah, as a general rule, if you took away all the prices and said to me, who do I think wins? I probably would just side with Honesty Policy. I think this is a little bit of the changing of the guard this year, and I expect the younger legs to go past the likes of Bob Ollinger and Hooper.
Yeah, we mentioned Lorcan Williams, Magic, Procush,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
just with the Golden
just that
Ace.
spell.
So
There's that spell. Like Friendship will be in 5th, jumping the last, and the ground will just open up. And no, I shouldn't say that actually, because it kind of has happened, hasn't it? But yeah, there'll be a way you can smuggle him into the places, I hope. But yeah, Honesty Policy, my on top selection.
Okay, so that's the Stayers hurdle. We move on to the other feature race on day 3 of the festival, the Ryanair Chase, 2 miles at 4.5 furlongs, and looks a pretty open betting heat if last year's winner Factor File is supplemented for the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Ireland has won 8 of the last 10 Ryanair Chases, 6 going to Willie Mullins. Pat, this market could change considerably, but give us the prices as they are right now.
Well, as things stand at the moment, Factor File is 4 to 5. Gaelic Warriors 13 to 2. How big is that going to look if they suddenly do an about turn? 7 Banbridge, 7 Hartwood, 8 John Bon. He looks as though he's Aintree bound. That will suit us as sponsors of the big Sandown meeting at the end of the year if we get John Bon rocking up there fresh and well. I'm not so sure John Bond's going to turn up for this. JP owns Factor File as well, doesn't he? So he looks like he's going to win this one. The indications are Factor File. We've played bingo here before and got wrong, but it looks so Factor File 4 to 5. The version that won this race a year ago would win it again, wouldn't it? As things stand, what else is going to run? That would be the only thing I could think of. There's probably about another 15 entered in the race. I couldn't be sure any of them are going to run. So I couldn't even be sure Factor File was going to run. So I'm not being much help here. There's not been any money for anything. We're just on red alert. If you see anything for horses, just shorten them and see what happens. But reading the tea leaves, it would appear that Factor File will run here. But then if it's going to be a dry week in the latter half next week, it's going to certainly help Factor File's chances of would he get the Gold Cup trip. So they don't have to make a decision until the final deck stage. So we'll still be throwing the names up in the air until then, I think.
Yeah, it all does revolve around Factor File. I mean, Banbridge is a horse who we know he's got bags of potential, and this could be the race for him. Romeo Coolio could be a dark horse if they decide to throw him into open company instead of the Arkle. I mean, as you say, Pat, this could really cut up. Ed, I suppose you can't really have a bet until you know what's going to happen with Factor File.
Very hard race. I should say Factor File doesn't run, you imagine Gaelic Warrior does, and either way you've got an odds-on favourite trained by Willie Mullins, haven't you? So the dynamic's not going to change massively, but it is going to cut up, as Pat says, so many horses in here who just simply aren't running. Banbridge has got the option to Gold Cup. You'd think the weather might actually be kind for Banbridge for once at the Cheltenham Festival, which is something to bear in mind. He's been a bit unlucky in recent times. So, look, taking the angle, this is going to cut up to 7 runners again. I've gone for 2 who aren't good enough to win, but could easily hit the frame. And if you back them now, you're going to get favourable each way terms. I think they're both 33s with Pat, and that is JPR1 and Matata. They both run in the race. JPR1 posted a career best effort last time out when stepping up to this trip for the first time in his career. Carried 12 stone, albeit Musselburgh flat track in a handicap. He lumped around a huge weight. He jumped superbly, and he looked a different horse up at 2.5 miles rather than trying to lock horns in those kind of 2-mile championship races. He's going to run. He'll love drying ground. He's 33 to 1. The other one is Matata. Absolutely hacked up over course and distance again in a handicap on trials day. Absolutely annihilated them. Again, he looked another horse. He was much happier up in the middle distances. So in a race where I think there are about 14 horses ahead of them, and of which 10 could easily not make the gig, according to the trainers, they're both fit, they're both well, and they both run. So you could take the view, if you take the 33 to 1 each way now before it ends up a 5-runner race on the day. They might only have to beat one horse home or two horses home to collect. So that would be the kind of lukewarm angling I'll be taking here. But I agree with your opening sentiment, really, Rory. It's of all the 28 races at the festival at this stage, it's not really a race to be kind of steaming into with any real conviction.
Paddy, would you go along with that? Anything sort of at a big price taking your interest at this stage?
Well, obviously, the market is telling us that this is the direction Factor File is going to come. And I mean, his Cheltenham Festival record is superb, really, isn't it? I mean, he was beaten in the Cheltenham bumper here, his first appearance, and he was a very raw Factor File back then, ran all over the track in the closing stages. And since then, two convincing wins. And although he proved stamina last time and ridden a little differently at Leopardstown, and I know he's won by 5 lengths, but for me, he still had a hard race because he was very on it, wasn't he, for Mark Walsh that day, who chose to go down the inside route. So I think when horses are beaten, we're a lot quicker to say, oh, they've had hard races there. But you've got to look at the winner as well. The winner has gone round the exact same distance as what the losers have. It will have still left a mark. So they're going for the shorter option here. I mean, because of the layout with McManus horses here, they're so spoiled for choice, they can do that. So he is a very difficult horse to oppose here. For me, if Heartwood is declared and turns up here, I'll listen to another podcast. I think connections are going to ride him a bit more positive, Heartwood. He's just a little bit shy of grade 1, but he's a very, very capable horse. And if he was to turn up here again, we might have a little bit of a short field. I would struggle to see him out of the money here. Another horse, Henry de Bromhead, kept his powder dry at the DRF, and we do know as soon as the old daffodils start to pop out in the middle of March, Henry de Bromhead tends to be the man who comes to the fore.
He certainly does. Let's look at the other races quickly on day 3. We've got the Mayor's Novice Hurdle getting us underway. Then the Jack Richards Novices Limited Handicap Chase. There's the Pertemps Final, and then the Kim Muir at the end of the day. Pat, any money to note off in any of those heats, and what do you fancy?
Well, the big move yesterday was Bambino Flyer in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. She was odds against and quickly went to odds on. We were thinking maybe something had gone wrong with the second favourite, but that was subsequently denied. And I think, as Ed alluded to yesterday, the second favourite has got all its form is on very testing ground, and Bambino Flyer Connection say it'll be happier to rock and roll on this type of faster surface. But nevertheless, Bambino Flyer is very well supported. And one thing I have to say, I was lucky to be at Kelso over the weekend, and I was with Dan Skelton. And I was asking Dan, how many runners are you thinking of having at the meet? And he said, I'll probably have 30 to 33. So I said to him, well, outside of the grade 1 horses, who are you looking forward to? And he said, in the Pertemps, Supremely West would be the horse that he just thinks is incredibly well handicapped. And if you go to Cheltenham back in October, I think he gave £8 to Marchand 2, and he was only beaten 5 lengths. And he's been beaten twice since. I think there were reasons for that, but he's dropped a couple of pounds since then. And he was saying, look, Marchand 2 is 8 to 1 for the Stayers Hurdle. We're running off a 135 in the Pertemps. That's why I haven't run him. And he's a miserable price, I have to say. He's about 5 to 1. And I look if you're trying to tempt me into backing a Pertemps Hurdle runner, but just listening to him, you were thinking, well, would you back Marchand 2 off a 135? I'm thinking, well, I certainly would. So he runs there very well fancied, and that's an indication of how well a horse is handicapped, isn't it? You're terrified of running him just in case the weights go up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So that's the Mayor's. Is it the second in Old School Outlaws? The second.
That's it. Yeah.
In the Mayor's Hurdle behind Bambino Fever. Yeah, Paddy, anything for you in those races on day 3?
Well, the last time when I was on with you here, guys, I mentioned about Waterford Whispers. I'm going to try and keep Henry de Bromhead on side, Rory, because he just never leaves the festival nowadays without a winner. And Waterford Whispers, he's got a Kim Muir entry as well. I just wonder if he's going to run in the Jack Richards. Very interesting horse. He's been disappointing over fences, I think, so far, but he's got a bit more experience now. He was another eye catcher last time. I know he's gone into plenty of notebooks and he's maybe as short as you would like, but I think a bit better ground again next week. Waterford Whispers just slowly looks like he could be about ready to land on a better handicap. So happy to keep him on side in the Jack Richards.
And Ed, for you, anything of interest on the day 3 undercard?
Yeah, just an interesting note on Waterford Whispers. Henry de Bromhead interview saying he's leaning towards the Kim Muir at the moment. He's got to shuffle the pack, depending on where Cocktail Divin goes, Slade Steel. But either way, Waterford Whispers, yeah, I totally see where Paddy's come from. He's going to run somewhere on the Thursday and could potentially be very well handicapped. I thought La Conquière, Jamie Stones, be the one to follow home. Bambino Fever in the Mares Novices. I think she'll love this drying ground. She's all speed. She stepped out of novice company to take on open mares, if you like, in a grade 2 on soft ground last time out at Ascot, and she just got a speed blunted against battle-hardened rivals. And it was only, I think, a third ever start over hurdles. But Jamie Stone said they were kind of running out of options to run her in. Not too dissimilar profile to You Wear It Wow. Of course, she won it for the Snowdens 3 or 4 years ago. So I think she could easily hit the frame. I think she's about 14 to 1 or there or thereabouts. And then later on, I think the price is absolutely horrific now. But Jericho de Repenay, or Jericho the Weapon, as a lot of people have been calling him, Jericho de Weaponay. I think when we did this show 2 months ago, he was one I put up at around 12 to 1. I don't know what he's now, about 1 to 8 or something, I think, Pat. But yeah, the claims were there for all to see. I think this Derek O'Connor has been booked for the ride. He's going to ride. Nicky Henderson's confirmed. Yeah, I don't think he'll be a million miles away. For the horses, a box of frogs. But yeah, in terms of that race, I'll wait and see how it plays out. But Waterford Whispers could be a big player as well. But yeah, La Conquière each way on drying ground. I think she's got a good each way chance of chasing home the Mullins Hot Pot.
Let's move on to day 4, starting with the Triumph Hurdle. Not quite the cavalry charge of old since the introduction of the Fred Winter, but we had a 100 to 1 winner last year in Poneros. 8 Irish winners in the last 10 years, 5 of those trained by Willie Mullins. We did have a hot favourite in Narciso Haas, but he was ruled out after a setback. Many people's banker for the meeting. So it's a bit more open. Pat, let's have the latest odds from Bet365.
Yeah. Well, after Narciso became a non-runner, we just immediately had money for Proactive, also owned by JP McManus, who was an impressive winner of his Irish debut, and he just automatically became favourite for the race. But that was more a quick reaction to the news about the injury to the favourite. But as things have settled down now, the other Willie Mullins horse in the Rich Ritchie colours, Zelma Davari, a filly who was second to Narciso and it has to be said, was an eye-catching run as well. She dropped out, came wide, and was making up plenty of ground up the run-in. So that's been a popular order in the race. And of course, as a mare, she does get the £7 allowance. She's actually vying for favouritism at the moment. Again, the front 2 in the market are pretty unexposed. And the third in is the other side of it, really, in Minella Study, trained by Adam Nicol, who people will remember him as a jockey riding Lady Buttons in a time. And he also trains Wise Eagle, who has won several 100,000 on the flat and is a prolific herder as well. So this is a young trainer, new trainer, knows what he's doing though, and he certainly knows what to do with Minella Study. 3 runs, 3 wins. And he has got that invaluable course and distance win. And this is that old cliche, isn't it? If it was trained by Willie Mullins, it would be half the price. Well, it isn't trained by Willie Mullins. It's trained by Adam Nichols. But he's a fine trainer in his own right. And I think the more I look at the Triumph Hurdle, I'm beginning to think, why not Minella Study? He's got the course form. The speed figures are okay. He jumps well. He's had this race as his target. I think he's bound to go well. I would rather back him each way on the day, because I think he's automatic to run his race. But the 2 Irish horses at the top of the market, I'd be more Zelma Davari. I thought that was more eye-catching than Proactive, who's in that could be anything bracket. But as a Triumph Hurdle, we looked like having an even money favourite a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be at least 4 to 1 the field on the day. And there are several unknown quantities in the race as well. So it should be a real good race. But the rock solid horse to me is Minella Study. I do like the course and distance win angle.
Yeah, Minella Study flying the flag for Britain. Paddy, what do you make of this one? Can Can Minella Study get in amongst the Irish battalions?
Oh, absolutely. No reason why not. And, I think Adam Nichol, who, we spoke about beforehand, he is a quiet, unassuming sort of fella, but you get the impression he's kind of sticking his chest out a little bit about this fella. And, he deserves his place in the lineup. And, I'm glad to see he's not been ignored in the betting. I do like the Skelton horse here, though, Maestro Conti. The way he travelled around when he won here last time. Now, it's got to be said, I do think the jockeys gave Harvey Skelton an absolute gift of a run up the standside rail. I think if they'd have just closed the door there, we might have actually seen really how good Maestro Conti was. But look, he was good enough to go into the gap as quick as Harry needed to. But he just gave me the impression this could be again a better horse in a better race, as the old saying goes. He's unbeaten. He might. I won't say he's gone under the radar because he's round about 7 or 8 to 1, Maestro Conti, but he just not might be on everybody's radar. That's sort of all I'm getting at. And another one at an each way poke here, if he was declared, was Feel Good for the Nicky Henderson team. But I mean, we didn't learn a whole pile at Warwick when he made his debut for 7 barrows. But I think I'd heard plenty of whispers about this fella before he even went to Warwick. So I think he's quite a big price if he does turn up here. But I do like the Skelton horse, Maestro Conti. That old saying, better horse in a better race, but he'll need to be.
Ed,
Yeah, wide open.
what do you reckon?
Yeah,
here?
well, we were all Team Narciso has, weren't we? That ship sailed somewhere else now. But yeah, I think Minella Study's very solid. Good course form. The collateral form has worked out really well. A lot of form ties in with Maestro Conti as well. I think they're going to be on the premises. So yeah, I don't go overboard in this race, just as last year kind of proved. Although the Poneros rule has come in now, where you can't run a horse who's never run over hurdles before. But I thought at bigger price, a horse who's been well back to recent days. I'm kind of on side with a horse called Mon Creuset for Willie Mullins. Now, this horse was sent off even money to win an ace on debut for the yard. Was absolutely tanking coming to 2 out. Made an absolute Horlicks of the hurdle, slipped, and it was all just a mess essentially. Finished home in 4th, but was backed off the boards that day. Travelled like a good thing to 2 out, and then made that error. The form is working out really well. The 5th came out and hacked up the other day, and I think there's another horse that's come out and bolted out of it again since. Still a double figure price, but looks a lovely proper chasing type for the future. I don't think it'll be found wanting for stamina. And I said that mistake 2 out. Put it this way, if, again, as I say, always the most dangerous word in racing, but if Mon Creuset pinged that hurdle, would have probably come home 12 lengths on the bridle, and you'd be talking about a 4-to-1 poke. So that kind of error probably masked the superiority, I think, in my view. So yeah, I'm kind of 2 versus the field. I think Minella Study is very solid and it's got the course form and a little bit of, I won't call it a dark horse, but Mon Creuset, I think, is 16, so I can see that horse running really well.
Okay, we move on to the Albert Bartlett, aka the Spud Race, 3-mile novice hurdle. Just 3 British winners in the last 10 years. Willie Mullins has had 4 winners, and he saddles the favourite in Dr. Steinberg. Perhaps not quite as short as expected. Pat, what are the latest odds from Bet365?
Well, if we had to have a statue outside the office at Bet365 Towers of one particular race in the calendar, it would be the Albert Bartlett. And I'm just going to give you the SPs since 2016. 11-to-1, 16-to-1, 33-to-1, 50-to-1. Monkschwish at 5-to-1, that spoiled the party. 14, 18, 18, 33 and 6. And not only is it a cracking race for bookmakers, it's also a play spot buster as well. You'll have so many people on Friday afternoon going, one let me down in the play spot. What leg was it? The Albert Bartlett. And that's the only reason, really, well, I'm not strong on Dr. Steinberg, because the stats, we have loads of stats gurus in the office and they do drive you mad. But I think they have a salient point with the Albert Bartlett. For some reason, you get anything beat in this race. I do think Dr. Steinberg is the most likely winner, but this is the type of race you just have to honour the stats here and say, I'll back 3 or 4 at 25-to-1 or bigger each way, thank you.
Ed,
Yeah.
are you looking to oppose the favourite, and with who?
Yes to your first question, not a clue to your second. After they've crossed the line, I won't know who the winner is. I was on just the story, but I was on that stellar story at 33-1. I was on the Jukebox Man 125's anti-post when he got beat a short head in the Albert Bartlett. That was one of those. I thought I'm on the wrong. I got a big price, but I was done by another big price. So, yeah, it's a race which has a history of carnage because it's quite a unique test. A lot of them, but many novices are tackling this trick for the first time. New course, really stiff 3 miles. So your form can be a little bit misleading. There's a lot of 2.5 mile kind of graded form with class and speed, especially if the rain did arrive and suddenly this turns into a 3 mile slog in the mud. That's where you do get some absolute silly things happening. So I'm fairly powder dry for now. Thought spinning a yarn was interesting going up in trip. But I'm going to wait to the day of the Albert Bartlett to see the ground and the makeup. I just think there are so many unknowns with this race at the moment. But a shock is not a shock when it comes to the Albert Bartlett.
Yeah, and of course there is the small matter of some horses also potentially going for the Turners. So, it
It's
could
a lot of
sort
unknowns.
of cut up. Yeah. Paddy, what's your view on the Albert Bartlett? One to avoid?
Well, it is certainly a Pat Cooney benefit. That is for sure. It's been a hard horse to nail down the winner of. I've been looking on various websites just to try and get a hint. Was Paul Nicholls keen to stretch no drama this end out to this sort of trip for a relatively inexperienced young horse? I wasn't so sure. It was a difficult one. I was wanting to go with a horse here. I think will hit the money if he turns up here again. Obviously, plenty of horses have got the Turner's option, but I do like this shuttle diplomacy from the Tom Cooper yard. This is a horse for me who has definitely benefited from having the tongue tie added. Real good solid run. 2 starts back where he hit the crossbar and chased a nice Willie Mullins horse home. And I thought he absolutely bolted up at Naas last time. Another yard wouldn't be huge on numbers, but they know what it takes to get a Cheltenham winner home. And I thought at a huge price, shuttle diplomacy could just sneak in to the money here at a big price. I do love the Paul Nicholls horse, but I don't think they're going to chuck him in over this sort of trip here, and they'll go Turner's route. But for me, I'm just looking for a bit of each way value here, Rory, and hopefully the Cooper horse shuttle diplomacy can sneak into an each way place.
Shuttle diplomacy was mentioned quite favourably yesterday when we looked at the Turners. So I think if you're following us, then back shuttle diplomacy wherever he turns up next week at Cheltenham. So leaves us just one big race to look at. The biggest of them all, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. 3 miles, 2.5 furlongs. I think you could say it's the ultimate test of a chaser. 9 Irish winners in the last 10 years, 4 of those for Willie Mullins. The last British winner was Native River. I'll say it correctly. Native River in 2018. Could that losing streak come to an end this year? Pat, what are the odds with Bet365?
Well, it's pretty much 5-1 the field, and you try and pick the winner, Rory. It's just a great race. Everyone you ask is going to have a difference of opinion. There's be a big field. We're bound to go first 4 places on that. Imagine going each way the first 4 in the Cheltenham Gold Cup.
Go on.
But
5. Go on, 5 places. Go on.
But the great thing is none of us know, do we? We normally go into the Gold Cup thinking, it's between these 3.5 runners at best. Not a bit of it. You could have at least half a dozen and not have the right order. I just suppose if I had to go with one, I do think the Jukebox Man won the King George despite it being a sharp Kempton and 3 miles. And I could see him being better at Cheltenham over slightly further. But he only just won that day, didn't he? There's nothing between them all. I think, which way do you want to go? Do you want to go to the King George or do you want to go to the Leopardstown form? The move the other day was, I know the way you're thinking, but I think in hindsight, that was probably a mistake by the compilers because we were 14 non-run and no bet. And he was only going to turn up for the gig if they were happy with him. And if they were happy with him, he was going to be nearer last year's version than the current version. So maybe we got the prices wrong there. The momentum stopped with him. He's found his level now. I'm going to take the Jukebox Man because I think he might be better around Cheltenham over this trip than Kempton. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Declaration here, as you may know before, I have an anti-post ticket, my only anti-post ticket on Fact to File. So I'm very much hoping he takes his chance in this. This is wide open, isn't it? I mean, yeah, the King George form, the DRF form. I mean, Fact to File, he's almost feast or famine, isn't he? He's kind of either very, very good or not at all. You've got the old boy Galapander Sharp. Talked about I Know the Way You're Thinking, who has been pretty abysmal this season. Paddy, who wins?
I think it is worth mentioning, Rory, that I Know the Way You're Thinking, he did run a little bit better at the DRF. I know he ended up on the floor, but again, we'll get to that time of year when the sun is out and the daffodils are appearing. How many of these horses, they do just transform when they turn up at Cheltenham. But interesting that Pat mentioned that he just leveled off a little bit in the market. But I think the Jukebox Man, are they going to ride him the same? Obviously, he's an enthusiastic, he's an aggressive type. He gets other horses in the race out of their comfort zone. But let's not forget, this is 3 miles, 2 furlongs, and 70 yards. We've seen plenty of results change in 70 yards. Long way in a Gold Cup. And I mean, if he's going to take up his usual running style and win a Gold Cup, it will be some performance. It really will. I think for me, Gaelic Warrior at one stage looked like a horse who was derailed a little bit. But when you break his form down the last couple of years, this is a very, very hard horse to knock. Because he got the better of Fact to File, having literally run away with Townend in the John Durkin. Looked for all money that Fact to File was going to pick him up and take care of him. But he re-rallied and got back up on the line. At the DRF, I know he was 5 lengths behind Fact to File, but they went on totally different parts of the track. And he, for me, I know I said Fact to File over-raced a little bit. Gaelic Warrior was literally running away with Patrick Mullen. He had his feet on the dash the whole way around. And the fact that in that type of ground, he kept going and was only beaten 5 lengths. Has Townend confirmed he's going to stick with Gallum Deschamps? Has that been confirmed? Do you guys know?
Hasn't confirmed it, but he was asked the question and he's basically said it'd be very hard for me. It would, to paraphrase, it'd be worse for him to be on something else and see Galapan go and win than he'd be on Galapan and something come past him. That was he kind of all but said he'll ride Galapan no matter what, but that's, there's no official line yet.
Yeah. I suppose we've seen that loyalty with him before, haven't we, with State Man? But obviously Patrick will be very, very keen to get the ride here again on Gaelic Warrior. I just think this is a very, very solid horse because Gallopin Deschamps, the ability is there, but I'd say Old Scars could just be catching up with Gallopin Deschamps. He's gonna run his race. He's not going to be a million miles away here. But for me, again, just the younger legs. And the fact that this, to me, looks like the best Gaelic Warrior, or the best version of Gaelic Warrior we've seen this time. Horrible decision for Townend to make, but I just wonder if loyalty could have him chasing home a stablemate here.
Pretty strong home challenge. We've talked about the Jukebox Man. Django Bay, obviously, is in there. Yesterday, Adam Kenny from bookies.com had Haiti Color as his bet of the week. Ed, what do you reckon to an incredible Gold Cup
It's wonderful,
market?
isn't it? It's priced up like a ripping handicap. And if you actually look at what's interesting is you've got a lot of different form lines, haven't you here? You've got like kind of the King George form line in isolation. You've got the Spillane's Tower, Grey Dawning. They've avoided all that and they've done Haydock and the Cotswold Chase. You've got the Irish Challenge, you've got from last year's 1-2. You've got Haiti Color, who's been the lumping around massive weights in handicaps. So you've got a lot of clashing form lines here, which is why the market's quite muddled, because no one quite knows which way to look. And Paddy speaks a lot of sense. I think you can make a case for 7 or 8 horses here. If you look at official ratings, there's not huge amount separating them. It's going to come down to very fine details on the day, who clatters the second, who doesn't quite get the luck in running. We could be in for a big field. We spoke about small fields of grading races. I'm kind of buying or selling it 15 runners for this. I think this is going to be a good turnout here. There's going to be a couple of hard luck stories along the way as well. So incredibly wide open, just at the prices. I am with, it's not my bet of the week, but I think Haiti Calor is very solid each way, 8-1. Very much in the native river mould of a horse, as opposed to a Django Bay, for example, who's a horse who's won a grade 1 at the festival over 2 miles and is stepping up in trip. Haiti Claw is the opposite. He's a horse who's done the Welsh National, Irish National route, softer, heavy ground in the Denman Chase. Really hits the line well, strong stay. Won, of course, the National Hunt Chase at Cheltenham 12 months ago. So he's not going to be found wanting for stamina, put it that way. And what is the phrase? Not all stayers win Gold Cups, but to win a Gold Cup, you need to stay. And I think that's the phrase of him. You've got that box ticked, whereas you haven't officially got it ticked with Django Bay and the Jukebox Man at the head of affairs. So they're going into total unknown territory stamina-wise. You could probably throw Gaelic Warrior and, to an extent, Factor File into that as well if you run. So look, incredibly wide open race. The two I do not fancy are Galopin de Champ. I think Father Time's got him, and it's sentimental money personally. I think he'll run with honour. But if he couldn't win it 12 months ago on drying ground, this looks a deeper race to me. He's a year older. I think the percentages have got to be against him. And I know that if not, I know the way you think he comes back after this season and wins this, then I'll give up. I'm going to take up betting on NASCAR or table tennis or something, because I don't know what's going on. But he's 7-1 now. I mean, that'd be an unbelievable training performance to get him back in the form of 12 months ago and what we've seen. And for all that, as Paddy says, there was a little bit more spark last time out, but look, make no mistake, he's in deeper waters here. I just, again, think younger legs. So I'm each way Haiti Calor, but in all honesty, it's just a price thing. If he was 5-1, I'd be with probably whoever's 8 or 9-1. I just think he's guaranteed to stay, guaranteed to run his race. Sean Bowen will be on, but look, it is a race, as you say. You could easily make a case for 6 of 7 of these. If they all bring their A game to the table, they can win it.
Yeah, does look a
Great.
fantastic Gold Cup, really does. 4 other races on the Friday at Cheltenham. We've got the County Hurdle, the Mare's Chase, the Open Hunters Chase, and the Martin Pipe at the end of the festival. Paddy, usually a few whispers in the County Hurdle and the Martin Pipe. Anything take your fancy in those races?
Well, it appears that the Charles Burns horse, I started a joke, he's not going to go boys race route. I thought, again, keeping the Rob Core colours on side here, Air of Entitlement, Cheltenham Festival winner in the past. This is a very, very lightly raced mare, this Air of Entitlement. She's rated 139. Now, I did hear, it's totally gone out of my mind, but pretty sure they've nailed a rider down for this mare as well. And in the Hunter Chase, Rory, I wanted to give Panda Boy a mention, because obviously the Gleason family have now purchased Panda Boy, and since he's gone down this route, Hunter Chase, because he turned up for all the big gigs, he always had plenty of weight in those big handicaps in Ireland, and he just came up short. Just wasn't good enough. And I mean, he's got a lofty rating. There's only one horse in this race with a higher rating than this race. He's rated 140. He just looks like he's finding life a little bit easier in this sort of category. And he will obviously be ridden by the excellent John Gleason. I think, for me, the best amateur in Ireland. Doesn't ride over obstacles all that much. So they've cherry-picked this Panda Boy for John to obviously ride. And I think he's got a cracking chance in the Hunter Chase. Obviously, Sam Curling is looking to go back to back, and he's going to have a strong hand in this race. But I do love old Panda Boy. He's a horse for me who never really got his day in the sun. He might just get it this time round.
Ed, you are nodding your head in agreement on
I can't
Erin's
believe that. I
entitlement
thought
there.
of all races, I thought the Martin Pipe, I'm safe here. Yeah,
Best till
two
last.
handicap bets on the final day. Every entitlement, whoa, she's going to have a chance off 139, hasn't she? I know her form's been miserable, but the same old thing. Henry de Bromhead, the Costadel, Gloucester moves in, everyone gets sunburnt. He turns up in his flip-flops and all their horses start firing again. Gosh, she's got to have a massive chance. Yeah, won last year's Mayor's Novices Hurdle, where she won it through sheer stamina, didn't she? If you go back to that race, 6.5, absolutely swung into it on the stand-side rail for Gavin Cromwell. Rachel Blackmore was riding from some way out, but she hit the hill, went up it. I think she's a major player at double figures. I'll be shocked if she's double figures on the day, unless I'm totally reading this form book all the wrong way around. So, yeah, really like her in the last. And in the second race, a horse I put up previously on the show, and I've got no reason to abandon him in, and that is Hello Neighbour in the County Hurdle. If you go back to last year's Triumph, he comes to the last, I wouldn't say upsides, but he's on the hindquarters of Lalamba, Poneros, East India Doc et al., and he absolutely clatters the final hurdle and weakens out of the Triumph into fifth. But he is a Grade 1 winner from last year's DRF. He's in the handicap company here, and listen to Gavin Cromwell. He kind of said before Christmas, we're working back from the county. So, as you say, the fact he was ridden with other days in mind last time out at the DRF, and look, he's going to have a lot of weight because he's a Grade 1 winner. But I think he could find this just a bit easier, calmer waters in a county hurdle compared to, he was running against Lossiemouth and Brighter Days ahead at Christmas. So, Hello Neighbour each way, county hurdle, same course of distance as the Triumph. I think that strong gallop will really suit him. He'll sit just off the pace and he'll be there or thereabouts. So, yeah, Hello Neighbour and Air of Entitlement, my two handicap plays on the final day.
Yeah, Hello Neighbour, still 16-1, so a nice price there. Pat, what do you like on the final day, and any lively money to report?
Not really. I think we all fancy having a crack at the Martin Pipe, don't we? But when you think
Get
it's
out of jail,
28
yeah.
of 28, it might become a very important race for us all by that stage of proceedings. I look at the county hurdle, and Nikki Henderson's got a 6-year-old mare in the race called Charisma with a K, and she's got very good lines of form in novice hurdles. And I was looking at, she's actually number 54 on the race card at the moment, and there's only 24 as the maximum field. And I can't believe there's 53 better handicapped horses than her in the race. So were she to get in, and a 54 when you try to get into 24, not going to be straightforward, but that just says to me, Charisma, of a mark of 128, I'm not saying she's epatante or anything, but I'd like to think she's better than 128, and I'm amazed there's 53 higher rated than her in the county hurdle. If she gets in, I think she'll be all the rage. I think, we'll be on JP McManus, good thing in a handicap watch. But as I say, she needs 30 to get out. So no easy task. If she runs, she'll be all the rage. I'm sure of it.
She might get in. So she might get in there. Yeah, because the race didn't fill last year, and I think she would have just got in two years ago, and she's not been declared for the Imperial Cup, which makes me think they're confident she will sneak in and go off even money.
Well, could be a gamble on the day
Can
on
see it.
Charisma
Yeah,
in the JP colours. Absolutely. That's pretty much it. Before we go, I need to get your naps of the festival. Paddy, we'll start with you.
For the entire 4 days, Rory?
For the entire 4 days, your best bet of the week.
Well, I'm hoping on the Tuesday, because I've been intrigued with Dan Skelton's insistence that the new line is a 2-miler. He knows far more about training horses than I do or ever will. Now, I think we can't judge him on the last day at Cheltenham because it turned into a little bit of a non-event. But in the fighting fifth, his race was spoiled because Constitution checked out with the second. They did not want to be making them run it. They wanted to make Constitution Hill's life hell the whole way and sit on his boot. So obviously he fell at the second. Making the running really did not suit him. We've seen he had a little peep at one down the back. Very, very still not a front runner for me. Now he did fall And I think he fell because he was in top gear at the time. But Harry was having to force him because let's not forget, he was dropping back from 2 mile 5 to 2 mile. He could not be sitting there playing jockeys and waiting for something to come and quicken past him. We learned nothing the last day, but just Dan's sheer persistence that he's got a 2 mile horse here. And when Ruby and Lydia broke it down in one of the road to Cheltenham's, Ruby made some fantastic points about when he's dropped in and his blood is up, this fella hurdles like a champion hurdler. I'm intrigued. I will need to see a bit of pace in the champion hurdle, and let's hope we get that. And just looking down through them, the likes of Tutti Quanti there, I was delighted to see him supplemented. We need a bit of pace in the race, and for this to be run like a champion hurdle. But I'm intrigued. I really am, and I hope that Dan Skelton is proved right here with this fella. Will be played late enough in the day, and although you don't want to see him get any shorter than what he is, I think they've got a proper one here, and I think it would be a serious feather in the cap to Dan Skelton's just sheer judgment. I'm sure Harry's played a big part as well, but it's sheer judgment that he's got a champion hurdle horse here, because it's quite a bold shout.
Certainly is. And some good points there. Ed, your nap of the week.
I'm going to stick to my guns. I've been saying this for a long time, but Jaguar in the Ultima, up to 3 miles. He's going to run. The cynic in me says Rocco's running to keep the weights down for him. But anyway, yeah, I think Jaguar in the Ultima. But if Friendship does run in the stairs and win it, we could do this show from the Ritz next year, and that'll be on me. So.
Sounds good. Pat, your nap of the week.
I've got to go for the Potemps on Thursday, Supremely West. I've been convinced about him by his trainer and his owner, Jimmy Fife, who hasn't had a winner at the Cheltenham Festival, and it is a long-standing ambition of his to win. So I'll be in the same nightclub as him, all being well, if he does win. I love everything about Supremely West, apart from his price, which I think is pretty tight. But you could make a plausible case out for saying he's the best handicapped horse, certainly in that race, and maybe out of all the handicaps on the card. So I wish he was a bigger price, but you can't have everything in life.
So that's 2 Dan Skelton horses in our naps of the week.
But you, Rory, come on.
Best of luck.
Yeah,
Me?
don't sit this one out. Yeah,
me.
no, come on. Yeah, we've let you off lightly so far.
Oh dear. I mean, I do like Factifile if he does run in the Gold Cup. Yeah, there's
got to be golden ace for you. I thought you were going to go in the
a golden ace. Yeah, I mean, I have backed her, so at probably double the price she is now, because obviously she was about 16-20 to 1 before. See, Gino, Constitution Hill, both out. So yeah, I can't see golden ace out of the frame. So yeah, she would probably be my bet of the week. Thanks for that, Ed. And thank you very much, all of you, for your company over the last few months. Ed Quigley, Pat Cooney and Paddy Aspell. That's it for our Cheltenham Festival preview race hour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. I'm Rory Jiwani. Thank you all for your company in the build-up to the festival. It's going to be great. Greatest 4 days of the year. Best of luck with your bets and enjoy the Cheltenham Festival.